Welcome, everybody. The moment we have all been waiting for is the 2026 Scrabble Players Championship. Josh Sokol here, joined with Matt Canik. Matt, are you excited?
Oh, I am so excited, Josh. This is the flagship North American Scrabble tournament of the year. 10,000 US dollars at stake and so many strong players. I'm stoked. How about you?
Absolutely. We've got a star-studded field this year. Last year's champion, Nigel Peltier, is here. 2024 champion, Mac Meller, is here. Three-time World Cup champion, Jackson Smiley, is here. Joe Edley. There's just so many names. I can't say all of them, but it's going to be incredible. And the Scrabble is going to be even better.
Absolutely. Just such a treat for everybody. And we're going to try to showcase former winners of this event early on in this one. But of course, defending champion Nigel Peltier, I think, is who we want to turn our attention to first. Isn't that right, Josh?
Absolutely. So for round one, we have the defending champion, Nigel Peltier. Of course, we have to bring him in, and he will be playing against a very veteran expert, Eric Harshbarger. I say that because it's not that Eric is super old or anything, but he plays so much Scrabble. He's always in the running for most games played on the calendar year, and he is here to try and win. Everybody is. It is an incredibly stacked field. So
incredibly stacked indeed. Mac Meller, the one seed, I think probably the favorite to win this event, but Joey Krafchick in the field, Jackson Smiley in the field, Ori Swift in the field, Carl Johnson has been playing some lights out Scrabble as well. And of course, Nigel Peltier as the 7th seed won this event last year. So we'll see. Nigel Peltier to run it back, Mac Meller to make his 3rd straight finals. Who knows what narrative will unfold, but we'll be watching it unfold for the next 5 days, won't we, Josh?
Absolutely. Not only those people, I mean, I'm just keeping on thinking of other people. Michael Fagan, 2022 champion, Rafi Stern, always in the running. So many strong players. Chloe Fatsis is here. We're going to get to see her as well in, I think, round 3. So we have 3 pairings for you. But yes, the first one, the defending champion, Nigel Peltier versus Eric Harshbarger. Absolutely. So as in previous years, 28 games, after which the top 2 players are taken away from the rest of the field for a best-of-5 finals. And the rest of the field plays game 29, game 30, and 31. So on Wednesday, that will be the finals day. I have Matt Canik here with me today and tomorrow. We have awesome commentators coming to you. We have Kenji Matsumoto later today. We have Will Anderson on Monday and Tuesday. More Kenji. And for the finals, as is traditional, myself and Morris Greenberg. And maybe a player who hasn't made the finals will come in the booth here. There's enough space in this little room. I am live in Iowa, in Cedar Rapids, where this Scrabble Players Championship is being held. It's a really nice room, really nice venue, and I think the players are very antsy getting ready to play their first round.
Speaking of antsy, it sounds like we're getting antsy right now. We're going to cut over to the board. Announcements are finished. We've got Eric, and we've got a chair where Nigel will be sitting shortly. We're almost ready to get things kicked off here at the 2026 SPC. I'm so stoked.
There's always a little bit of, announcements prior to the first game. Just everybody being told what to do, what there is. There is actually a farmer's market very close to the hotel venue that is open right now that I'd love to be at, but I'd actually much prefer being here commentating. But there's a huge farmer's market. Cedar Rapids is in full bloom this summer. It's a very nice location for the Scrabble Players Championship. But Eric will be going first in this game. We see the board in the middle. We see Eric on the left. We see almost Nigel Peltier on the right. It looks like he's running the champion. Being fashionably late when you're the incumbent champion makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, when you won this event, you can kind of come back and do whatever you want. You can start your clock 5 minutes late, get some laps in before your game. You can even come into the commentary booth, right, Josh?
That's right. You could. Oh man, he seems really excited. But yeah, it's kind of like when I think about the top players and the elite behavior. We're working on it, right? Like the handshakes, the what do you call it? The dress codes of chess. Like we're not really there yet. But I really like the psychological aspect of, oh, I'm last year's winner. I'm gonna be a little bit late. You can start my clock. Not Nigel Richards, but Magnus Carlsen does that in chess.
I could do whatever I want because I won this thing. Of course, the joke there, if it's a bit over your head, Josh Sokol did win this event back in 2023, and now bringing you commentary all 5 days, right, Josh?
That's right. That's right. But Nigel Peltier winning last year, he's also just an absolute gentleman. That's not the sort of tactics that he uses. He just plays. He's an incredible player. He's so exciting to watch. Sometimes very unpredictable, the direction that he moves in his game. So very, very excited to watch him. Let's see if he's honed his skills over the last year. If he just rests on his laurels, we'll see. Yeah, he's been playing a lot. His rating's been going up, I think. But almost no one's been playing as much as Eric Harshbarger.
Yeah, Eric holds many tournaments, monthly tournaments down in Auburn, Alabama, where I believe he's a faculty member and able to get some nice space. And yeah, he's just always throwing Scrabble tournaments in his backyard. If you're ever rolling through the American Deep South, take a peep at the tournament calendar because there's like a 1 in 4 chance Eric has a tournament. All right, we are underway. AEORWPS to finish it out. I don't see a 7 here, Josh. Tell us what Eric is probably thinking about.
Yeah, I think with a rack like this, the letters you want to get rid of are the O, the W, and the P. So the word POW is a very nice choice. You could go a little bit longer, play something like power, and that would score a lot more. So POW would be 16, power would be 10 more points at 26. But AERS is so strong. I think I would play POW here, Matt.
Yeah, that feels a little bit stronger to me as well. Leave the points on the board turn 1 and just hope you draw a bingo next turn. It feels like a good line here, but Eric's going to take some time and think about each of these options.
Yeah, on the other hand, look at that opening rack for Nigel Peltier. He's just gotten an S and a blank immediately with a nice balance. So after power here, he's going to be looking to play across those 2 pink squares, the double word scores. And if he can't find anything there, he's going to be looking to play from or to the R in power and hit that dark red square, the triple word score.
Yeah, so these are some of the nice puzzles to have in Scrabble, but also some of the harder puzzles to solve in Scrabble. I've got a blank. There are all kinds of options for me to score points on the board. What is the most I can do? As Josh said, that double-double between the 2 pink squares is what he's looking to do. But I've already punched it through the engine. None of those options exist here for Nigel. So he's going to spend some amount of time looking through the O. The question now is how much time will he budget before he gives up on it? I don't know how sharp he is on the words right now, but as defending champion, I'd assume he's quite sharp. We'll see how much time ticks off the clock here for Nigel.
Yeah, it's the O looks okay. I think you just have a few too many vowels. But yeah, there's nothing through the O. The highest scoring bingo here, the bingo is when you use all of your tiles, get 50 extra points, is the simple readings from the R of power. And that would score a nice 80. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how long he takes. Usually on my first move of a championship, I am just like very, very antsy. And I usually take way too long on my first move, but especially when I'm on stream. But we'll see what Nigel comes up with here. The blank, definitely a time sucker.
Nigel's such a calm, cool, collected player. Last year, if you missed the drama or if you need your memory refreshed, Nigel was playing for his life. I believe it was round 27, and he went down nearly 200 points to Ori Swift, who's also one of the best closed board players. I turned off the stream at that point to get some laps in at the pool before tuning in for the next round. I had written Nigel off and assumed I'd be watching Ori play for a spot in the championship the next round. When I turned the stream back on 20 minutes later, it was not Ori, but Nigel, who seemed completely unfazed and swung one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen in competitive Scrabble, beating Ori by, I believe, a single point, and eventually making it not just to the championship series, but to become the champion. Came back from sub 1%. It was incredible. Speaking of incredible, here comes Nigel finally finding his top play. Readings, the best play by 8 points here for Nigel. You can see from his body language, he's not confident that this is the best he's got, but this is all he's seen.
Exactly. You don't want to put the S on that bottom row there. It's just ripe for the taking. It's when you're opening with such a good rack, you want to do as much as you can to stay defensive. But yeah, that's what he's thinking. I'm sure he saw readings pretty much immediately, but he's just been looking for something better. When you find a good play, look for better. But sometimes it just isn't there. So 3 minutes so far, that's totally fine. I would expect he'll make his move quite soon. But anything over 5 minutes, maybe you start to worry a little bit about the rest of the game for Nigel Peltier. The good thing about play of readings is it does simplify the position. If you imagine just the word coming down from the R, there isn't really much going on the board other than either you play a bingo or you don't. And so it'll be kind of easy to find good plays. I actually wanted to mention the play of power. There are a couple of ways to extend that to the left triple there. Manpower, air power. Wonder if there are any more options there. Eric is very close to air power.
Yeah, I was thinking about air power, looking if Eric could keep the AR combination together on his next move. There are 4 extensions to power, and I'll go ahead and spoil them here. So pause your vid or mute me if you like the puzzles yourself. We've given 2, air power and manpower, also war power and out power. Here comes Nigel. His first turn is a toughie, but he's gotten it correct. Hasn't hit that clock yet, but he is counting it up. It's going to be 80 points on turn 1 for your defending North American Scrabble Players champion.
Yeah, and we'll see how Nigel deals with this board position. It obviously depends on what he draws, but we could see a stylistic choice next move. Maybe he'll try to block things. Maybe he'll try to just keep things really open for himself. Early in the tournament, when you get off to an early lead, sometimes you want to just try and defend it with all of your might and just try and defend the board, block all the open tiles as much as you can. But sometimes you just want to go full throttle and try to win by as much as possible, because not only is how many games you win important in this running, it's also how much you win them by. And so our tiebreaker, which is the differential between the players' total scores, is also very important. But look at that draw. That seems like a pretty good draw for Nigel Peltier. Don't see anything immediately, but let's pivot over to Eric Harshbarger, who has a pretty good rack.
Yeah, he has a pretty good rack. There are no bingos available to him on this turn. Nigel does have an extremely strong play from the G in readings next turn as well. So this is a massive turn. Eric's got options that might obstruct it. The one that jumps to me is Garveys, Garveys, out from the G. But if he doesn't block the G, he's about to get crushed, Josh.
I think so. I think you're thinking of Gavelled. Could that possibly be good? Oh my God, with 2 L's, that is so many points. That's 92. Wow. Yeah, Eric right now, he's considering Davy, D-A-V-Y, which is a very reasonable option, keeping ERSS, extremely strong leave. He has an S to hook onto power to make powers. He has all of those open tiles. Davy looks like a fantastic play. I actually feel like Garveys would be a mistake, but maybe in this case, it would save Eric from getting bingoed on twice in a row.
Yeah, the irony of Scrabble so often is Davy is the best play for Eric according to engine analysis and the strongest play. It's just not the one that's going to work out for him in this universe. But of course, Eric has no idea what's on Nigel's rack. Eric's going to do what seems best to him. Davy would be, I think, a good choice. Anything else would actually surprise me, like if he shifts over to Ovary down from the V here. But Davy's going to get punished hard.
Yeah, there are a bunch of other options. He's thinking about ovary from the O, I think maybe. And there's also, you can use those same tiles to play Ravey, Ravey, through the E of power, making YE a two-letter word. Now that looks like a great play in terms of score and the letters you're leaving behind, but it does open a really big potential for a high-scoring play to that top middle triple. And on this board, it is open, but it is open not for scoring plays, for bingo. So if you open the board to scoring plays, you might get punished, especially when you're down early. But vary is what Eric has decided to do, keeping two vowels and two consonants. This is also a good play. It also sets up the E for every.
It does set himself up, but the E, the most common tile in Scrabble, means it's very likely my opponent's got one, and I'm concerned about that AESS leave. I don't think it bingos nearly as much as some of the other possibilities, such as AERS or ERS he could have kept. And here comes Nigel, gavelled 92. He's not going to miss a play like this.
Wow. So quick, so confident, and he's still over 20 minutes. It's got to feel good to start 2026 off with two bangs, two bingos in a row, readings and gavelled, 172 to 49. But Eric has the option to just hammer that spot that was just opened up on the far right of the board. Zeta for 72. He's already spotted it.
Yeah, it's this or ZEDS. But if you're giving me the choice between keeping two A's or keeping two S's, I'm keeping the two S's every day. Zeta in a heartbeat, right, Josh?
Absolutely, and it's coming down. And if you're wondering, what are these words? This isn't the Scrabble I know. All of these are valid Scrabble words. You have the definitions right under the board. If you're new to this game, there's a lot of words you don't know, and you got to deal with it.
All right, speaking of words you don't know, it is now test time for Nigel. Does he see, does he spot the three-letter extension to power? He's drawn out power here, and it is easily the best play for Nigel. So, Nigel Peltier, show us your stuff. Show us you can spot the sneaky extension play here. It looks about 14 points stronger than anything else.
Yeah, very important. When power hits the board, the top players tend to look, okay, can I extend that any which way? And so we'll have to see if Nigel has some medium-term memory going on. First play of the game, setting up some potential extensions. Out power is certainly a word he's seen that he knows. We'll see if he spots it. He's confident enough to play it. It is the weirdest of the four extensions.
Yeah, definitely. But it's almost certainly a word that he has seen before. You play Scrabble as high at as high a level as Nigel does, and for as long as you do, he's seen this word before.
And it's very interesting. He's considering a play, an overlap of, I think, the EADI of readings, potentially, but keeping three vowels. That's the first play he's seen. There's some other plays in the position that are kind of hard to spot that would make more sense if you don't spot out power, like maybe a word like outwent through the blank N of readings or outwept through the P of power. Those turn over some tiles, score some points, and don't leave Nigel potentially saddled with vowels with bad tiles. And when you're ahead, it's actually all the more important to keep yourself with balanced tiles that will score your way to a potential victory later on in the game. Now he's considering maybe Weta with every, which opens the board even further, keeping out. Maybe he'll spot now that the out is separated on his rack, that he can just extend power right now.
Yeah, I mean, his eye, I think, is drawn straight to this every hook that was opened up by Eric. Eric's not going to open the board like this without keeping pretty well. You play a little bit of poker and a little bit of inference based on your opponent's last play. And if you're Nigel, your gut instinct is look up there, try to obstruct the spot, maybe even knock out the powers hook at the same time. But Weta's not a very effective block. And I don't really see a very effective block for him here. So very complicated turn if you don't see the straightforward out power here.
Absolutely. And regardless of what Nigel does, we're going to have a game. Eric has some really good tiles, and almost certainly we're going to see him bingo next turn with something like Sinopias through the P of power.
Yeah, big play lined up for Eric. So even though he's been bingoed on each of the first two turns by last year's Scrabble Players champion, Eric's still very much in this game. Nigel with the big test here, and yet again he's taking a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah, like I said, first round jitters are so real in such a stacked, important event. So I wouldn't be too concerned. But it looks like out eat. Wow, that's a super interesting choice. Has he blocked? There's no way he's blocked everything.
Well, he's blocked everything. That's incredible.
So this play does a lot of things. It keeps a W, very weird to keep a W. It's not a good tile, but when you're ahead, keeping scoring tiles becomes better than usual. It plays a lot of tiles and it eliminates a little bit of space, but it also opens the top right of the board. Just turns out that Nigel has blocked Eric from bingoing. Wow.
Wow, wow, wow. So I love this. This is a great omen for Nigel. These are the kinds of plays where the computer engines don't often recommend them, but we see the very top players are never willing or never afraid to deviate from what the engine feels, to just go with their gut and what feels instinctively right. After an opening play from Eric, instinctively Nigel feels like blocking even if the engine might not agree. And I think that's really cool here. If you don't see out power, out eat looks really strong to me, Josh.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see how likely it is that power gets extended. Like we said, there are 4 extensions for this word that was the opening play, and now the play of out eat totally protecting that possibility as well.
Yeah, wow, wow, wow. All right, we will see. That power extension will keep lurking, but what is Eric going to do here now? These racks get so awkward when you've got all one pointers, good bingo prone letters you don't want to play off, but you need to score some points if you can't bingo. I'm not seeing any strong option here for Eric at all, Josh. Are you?
Not at all. When you have tiles like this, you either bingo or you score almost nothing. Now, what's very interesting about the play that was just made out eat is out 8 in the same spot was 2 more points hitting 2 of those triple letter scores. But that would make a situation where hooking onto every, now every is on the board. Reverie and severy are both words. So out eat actually makes it much harder to rehook every. And yeah, now it's just a question of how do you do anything with this rack? You want to score something, you can't really do that. You don't want to play any of your tiles because they're all really good. This is a really tough position now.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I feel like what we're going to see from Eric is just a 1 or 2 tile plunk. He might just grab his O and play WO for 8 points here. I'm not sure that's the strongest option, but on a weird, complicated turn, that makes quite a bit of sense. I see a lot of draws that I could hit the S at the bottom of the board afterwards. Easiness, for instance, and just try to stay as close to bingo range as you can. It makes sense to me. Maybe we'll see OI or OS played off instead, but I'm thinking Eric's going to play short here.
I'm thinking that Eric's just staring at this board and being like, why can't I see anything? I feel like he's going to take potentially a lot longer here before he comes to the conclusion that he has nothing. This is insane. This is such a good rack, and the board is quite open here. So this is a really big gut check early on for Eric Harshbarger.
And Josh, you've been talking about how hard it is to play at a nationals, but especially game one at a nationals, a tournament that all of these players have had circled on their calendar for at least 9 months. But then confounding that you're on stream as well, like that's a lot to think about. And it's easy to get in your own head, especially with a rack like this, and think, oh man, I really don't want to miss a high probability bingo on stream. There's nothing there, but I wonder how much time this costs Eric.
Yeah, and this is obviously a very pivotal position. Once you come to the conclusion you're not going to get a bingo down, it is important to try and make a good play in bingo next turn. But honestly, in terms of how good the plays are in comparison to each other, every play here that is reasonable, and there's not going to be a huge difference between the options. So the problem here is just that none of the plays are good. And the solution is play something at some point and just try and get a bonus down next turn. We'll see. SO is being clutched. Maybe Eric's considering playing OS or SO, hooking onto out eat, which would be a very interesting decision. I feel like that lane on top of the A and the T for 7-letter words is pretty good. So I wouldn't necessarily want to eliminate that, but I like your idea of just playing off the O. But you could go so many different ways here.
You could. I mean, I could see a case to be made for fishing any one vowel. Even if you fish the E, I'm saying you can draw like Anoopsia as a double through the OP for 1,000,000 points. So one tile fish makes sense. OS feels very instinctive here, but I really don't like holding AEINS on this board. If I draw two vowels, I'm stuck in a very similar position to this one where I've got to score 10 to 15. So he's going to play Silo here for 10 points.
Very, very reasonable choice. It looks crazy. It looks like a play maybe your father or mother would make if they're not tournament players. Like, why are you playing that S for only 10 points? But this is actually a very strong play with the second S in hand. I think Eric wants to hit the S in readings next turn, and the 3 S's in one word, not super likely. So playing off one of the S's and just trying to draw into something which he has. Looks very strong. And Nigel now, who has a 60-point lead, he's been thinking all Eric's time. I think 5 minutes he's had to sort of consider the position. So he's probably concluded what he was going to do if Eric passed his turn or exchanged tiles. But now that Silo's on the board, he has to readjust. We'll see how long he takes, though. I don't think he's going to take too much longer.
So Josh, walk us through the psychology of how do you readjust after your opponent plays Silo, SIO, for 10 points?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a scare. You're only up 60, so if Eric gets a bingo next turn, it's going to be a close game. So normally you'd want to block something, but that S in readings is actually really hard to block effectively right now.
Except with this right here, redry. This is a great adjustment from Nigel. Maybe not the strongest play in a vacuum, but we're not playing in a vacuum. I love this, Josh.
Yeah, that's amazing. I did not see the option of hooking onto YA and coming all the way down just to inhibit. This is spatial awareness 101 in Scrabble. How do I deal with a threat? Sometimes it's not addressing it directly, it's indirectly. And redry is a fantastic play. Again, keeping a W. And normally maybe in a normal position, like you said, in a vacuum, you'd want to play off WRY somewhere, play Rye and keep a very, very strong leave. But this is really, really strong.
And you can see the consequence of the defense Nigel's playing is Eric had seminars at the bottom of this board for 83 points. That's gone now. He can still bingo. Marines on top is 74, and he's already seen it. But Nigel picking up a whole bunch of points by blocking the best line. Here comes Marines now. Not game over. Marines is going to make this one 205 to 218. And look at Nigel be swift on his rack.
Yes. So Marines coming down. Game very, very close. There's still a blank unseen. Will Eric Harshbarger draw it? And what is Nigel to do with this situation? Now he's got a few too many problems. The B, the W, the F. You don't really want any of those. You're not really going to be able to play all 3 of them at once. So are we going to see something like Wifty to the Y of redry? Are we going to see an overlap of Marines? It's very interesting to see.
Yeah. One very strong overlap to Marines. I think this is going to be Nigel's play after a while. It's BeFit, BEFIT, above the INES. It's not weak to counterplays as FE takes no front hooks. It keeps a W for a 3rd straight turn, Josh, but BeFit for 37 looks really strong here.
Yeah, that's very nice. It's almost lined up, but Nigel's actually just lining his letters up in alphabetical order. Let's talk a little bit about that. At the top level, lots of players will study racks that they might potentially draw, and the way to retain the words that are potentially on those racks is to put them in alphabetical order and retain them that way. It's a rote memorization tactic that is very, very important in high-level Scrabble. So Nigel doing that just to make sure there isn't some potential word here with his tiles. I don't think Eric does that. It looks like, I mean, for this specific rack, you don't need to alphabetize. You know you have a queue, you're not going to do anything. But alphabetizing is a very important tactic, and also might help you find a word like befit, because it was almost lined up on his rack, and that's a very, very strong play. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those where once you see it, you're like, how could I possibly do better than this? So Nigel setting it up, spending no more than 20 more seconds. This is a slam dunk correct turn from Nigel.
Absolutely. And another, I guess, easy-ish turn for Eric last turn. It was just like, okay, 7 hours was block. I'll just play Marines. It's anagram, but the Q, the worst tile in Scrabble, either you can play it or you can't. First thing to assess is, can I play it? Yes, I have an I for QI. Yes, I have an AT for QAT. Is there a U on the board? Is there somewhere I can score very well? Should I play Kaid, QAID to the D and redry? We'll see what Eric decides to do. QI overlaps the IT of befit. Cot was just blocked, by the way. That was a big play that Eric wanted to play in the same spot as befit.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the other strengths of Befit. It knocks out some of the best scoring spots on the board. 4 bingo lines and a big stack spot all at once without giving anything back. So, yeah, Eric's going to play either Kot, Chi, or Kaid. Like, those are the 3 things you do with the U-less Q. But which one? He's got QI above the IT of Befit for 25. The leave is nothing to write home about, Josh, just ANOOT. Would you try to play off more tiles here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I definitely wouldn't play QI for the same score under the P of power. Again, we have to think about those extensions.
Yeah.
So manpower was available with Marines, but you want to take the bingo score, I think. You could potentially draw the other M for manpower if you keep the AN. You could potentially draw a U for outpower. I love this decision. I wonder if Eric is thinking about the potential U draw. You hate to draw a U after playing the Q, but in this particular instance, it might work out nicely.
It's a fundamental law of Scrabble, though. As soon as you play the Q, you will draw a U. With 3 of them in the bag, Eric's going to draw out power here. Just you watch.
Commentator curse.
Oh.
You did it. First instance. Yeah, 3 U's. There was a pretty decent chance that Eric would draw one, but unfortunately he has not. But he's drawn 2 consonants, which is nice. He had too many vowels. And now over to the defending champion, Nigel Peltier. He is separating WIC from the other 4 letters on his rack, because those are the letters you want to get rid of with a rack like this, Matt.
Yeah, how are you going to get rid of them? He's looking at Wingy right now, WINGY.
Ooh.
Sets up his S, but also sets up that other S out there. With the lead, Josh, is this calculated offense or too aggressive?
I like it. When your opponent plays off the cue, more likely than not, it's just a forced play. They might not have anything good left over, so there might be the chance with a small lead, 25 points, to take a risk, take a little bit of a gambit, play wingy, and maybe Eric has an S, and maybe he can use the swingy hook, or maybe he'll just block it with an underlap to the bottom left triple. But it's a good leave, it's a good score, and it's good offense. I like this idea.
Engine loves this play as well, saying after Wingy, Nigel scores about 8 additional points next turn compared to other options, whereas this does increase Eric's score next turn, but only by about 2 or 3 points. So a good calculated gamble. Engine has this 8 points above any other option. Not too aggressive, say the computers. Not too aggressive, says Josh Sokol. Nice play, say all of us.
Yeah, and it's actually the last S.
Oh, is it? Okay. I didn't have Unseen updated. Wow.
Yeah, it is the last S, so it makes even more sense knowing that 3 S's are already on the board. Eric lining up potato on his rack. That would be a fun word to play. Its anagram patoot is also a nice word. But I think here you're wondering, does Nigel have that final S? Does he have a blank? I don't have either. Should I just overlap wingy with something like topo? Should I go underneath? Do I leave it open? It's a kind of a tough position down 49 points. You don't really know what direction to go in, and the board is actually starting to get a little bit cramped.
I would be worried about the shape of this board if I'm Eric. Yes, the power extension's still in play, but options starting to dry up here. I do like how Topo does 2 different things to the board. It allows for high-scoring underlaps between the WIN of Wingy and it allows me to play down to the T and topo for bingo lines. A play like pot, I feel like, is much, much weaker for Eric because this board is getting so exhausted. I think he needed to do something to keep it alive.
Yeah, when you see a triple open, most likely you should use it. But topo looks like a much stronger play. I think this was just a miss, but look at that draw. It's the second
Whoa.
blink.
Okay, Eric not out. Anato's going to play on this board as well. Is that what he's got?
Not quite.
Not quite. But Nanobot does play. Ooh.
Yeah, wow,
Ooh,
Nanobot. Yeah, lots of possibilities here. Surprisingly, on this board, the O is super useful to hook onto the MA in the center of the board, the BI on the top right of the board. And I don't know if Nigel's going to get anywhere close to blocking those. So this is a really, really big swing in Eric's favor if he can spot Nanobot. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Nigel's MO has been defense in this game the last few turns, but we'll see if he sticks to that plan. Up 27, unseen blank now. But he'd make a huge sacrifice to block the lines at the top of the board. He'd have to play something like KINO into the O of out eat. That seems crazy. I wonder if we might see KIT here, Josh, for 7.
So I was about to suggest that play. So Nigel looking to play knit to the IT on the top right of the board, hitting that triple. But if he plays just kit for 7, he has so many draws to hit skit next turn, getting the triple word score both ways and scoring over 100 points. That could be super awesome here. The only problem with that play is if Eric does have the blank and can use the skid hook himself for a big score.
I mean, the other problem with that play is it only scores 7 points. You've got 28 available in the straightforward cuke that Nigel has just set up, down to the E in gaveled. I think Kit probably just a little bit too cute here, a little bit too much of a gamble in a game you feel like you're in good shape in. Cuke holding INRS. My gut would be saying, don't get cute here. Just make the play that seems really obvious.
Don't get cute, get cuke. So cuke coming down for 28 for Nigel. He is padding his lead even further. This is going to be really interesting. That spot on the top left is ripe for the taking at any point. If Eric gets rid of his blank, Nigel can just drop potentially a letter there. I guess you can't drop the N because of unit, but there might be a possibility of drawing potentially the H. There might be a way to set it up later. So there's the J for Nigel. That's going to be a nice tile for him to continue to try and score. But will Eric Harshbarger spot Nanobot? Is that his only playable bingo here?
It is his only playable bingo here. And that's the test now for Eric, who's got just over 10 minutes to play the remainder of this game. If you are brand new to competitive Scrabble, never seen anything like this before, we'll just quickly talk about what a time penalty is because this is game 1. Josh, why don't you tell us about it real quick?
Yeah, time penalty. So in Scrabble, you can go over time and you will not lose the game. Is that what you're talking about, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so if you go over time, because both players are under 10 minutes, which is not so great at this stage of the game, if one of the players goes over time, and I know Eric actually tends to go over time pretty often in my experience, if you go over time, you don't lose on the spot. You lose 10 points per minute that you go over. So if you're minus 1 second, you lose 10 points. If you're minus 59 seconds, you lose 10 points. If you're minus 1 minute and 1 second, you lose 20, and so on and so forth. So it is a penalty, but sometimes it could be strategically important to go overtime in order to spot a potentially winning play.
Yeah. So that's how it's going to work here for Eric, whose time is just now over 9 minutes. And if he doesn't spot Nanobot, this turn is really hard once again for Eric Harshbarger.
You might also think about, again, like that, those extensions of power are just there. Non-power is not one of them, but it is a very reasonable attempt at a word. So I wonder the direction that Eric's going to go, and I think he's trying to look for a bingo here, but Nanobot is so tough making the blank a B. He might just try to play off the N and the O, the duplicated tiles. He has 2 N's, 2 O's, but where do you play an O for any reasonable score?
Yeah, that's the problem with these racks that have all 1-point letters is how do I get points right now? N-O and O-M-A at the top of the board, maybe? I like that for a few reasons. I like that Oma takes a front N, setting up Noma for myself. Also takes a front S, so if I draw the S and bingo next turn, there's a line for me. I think if I'm going to play up there, though, I'd rather make it NOO and make OAT as well. What do you think about that, Josh?
I don't know about using up that spot because if Nigel's just able to play a five-letter word after that, hooking onto the end, the board is really, really hard to work with. So I'm not sure. That wouldn't be the direction I would go in. But then again, there is just a very, very good play here available for Eric. And if he doesn't spot it, he's in a really bad position. And if he does spot it, it's a very, very close game. So it looks like he's playing no and OB. This makes a lot more sense, I think, board-wise, setting up that lane on the second to top row and leaving that other lane open. But it only scores 7 points, Matt.
Yeah, just 7 points. He'll really want to draw a playable bingo on this turn, one that he spots. The M and the E means Eric basically a lock to do so. Great draw for him. We're back on Nigel, whose lead is 48 points now. And look at this, Josh. AIR set up at the front of this rack. I think he's seen air power.
Wow, are we going to see the extension? Because Eric's drawn into manpower and he had it lined up himself, which might actually be better for him since he's retaining the blank than playing a bonus here. But is air power going to come down, keeping 4 constants? But it's such a nice score, 39 points, hitting that triple. And when you're up almost 50, scoring 40, that is a very nice recipe. If Nigel can just draw a couple vowels after the play of air power, he will be in very good position, even facing a comeback bingo from Eric Harshbarger. So that's what it looks like he's looking at.
But there are a lot of other plays that make sense on this turn. Yes, air power 39, but FJNS, a leave that could go south, though there are a lot of vowels to be drawn. FIAR plays into that second R of redrive for 31 points, keeps JNRS together, which feels like you're just going to score a bunch again next turn. Or just JIN, either underneath power to knock out that spot or into the N of Wingy. Those feel like good options too, Josh. So is air power a slam dunk play?
Absolutely not. I guess the reason to play air power is now if you're thinking about extending power, you're thinking about, can my opponent do it? Is this all mine? Can my opponent have air? No, I don't think my opponent can have air. But he's going to go for it. Out power is available. Manpower is available. Maybe he's seen out power now. Hopefully not, because then he'd realize he made a mistake earlier. Air power coming down. Fire was a great play setting up gins and pots, but this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, no, air power is what I would end up pulling here if I were Nigel as well. The worst thing that could happen to me with my big lead is my opponent extends power himself and then gets a cheap bingo on the top of this board. And that sequence feels pretty likely with what I see unseen. So let me just take it now, go up 90. I'm feeling good about my chances. But the worst thing that can happen after air power is a bingo down into the A. And that's what Eric's got here.
Wow, is he gonna spot this very vowel heavy word? Metanoia was spotted in the YouTube chat. Hello to everybody watching on YouTube. That would be fantastic for Eric Harshbarger. If he doesn't spot this, his other options aren't quite as good, but he will be able to bingo this turn.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting game no matter what. Metanoia would make it just 7 points, but Eric's got bingos galore on this board. He's gonna pull within a dozen or so, and Nigel's rack, he does have the case S. He's got the high scoring J, but it is ugly other than that.
Yeah, he might as well have not drawn a vowel. That U is just so ugly, like you said. So it's going to be a game for sure, but Nigel certainly with the advantage, he'll be up. It'll be his turn. He'll have that tempo, and he still has that last S, which can be super useful late in the game. So we'll see what Eric's going to manage to find here. He's under the 6-minute mark, and he's had that blank for a couple turns now, and that blank can really suck your time away from you. So if he spots Metanoia, it's a game. If he doesn't, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Eric to come back.
Yeah, we'll see. And just 5 minutes and change now for Eric Harshbarger, who's likely got a whole end game he'll also need to solve in this one. Setting up Omentas now, Momenta. So he's found bingos. That's half the challenge, but which one is best? And can you spend enough time to find the best one?
Okay, so
We're going to need blank cam for this one.
yeah,
That can be a bunch of things.
yeah, it could be
TLM.
TLM. Yeah, it's going to be kind of important. He should have, if he's making this an L, he should play Omental and get the 2 extra points. But I think he's probably thinking of another word. But we'll see. We'll see what this blank ends up being. And once we figure that out, we'll figure out what Nigel's going to be able to do about this.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess that it's an M, and we will communicate that to everybody else when we have that information. But F, J, H, N, N, S, U, now the rack for Nigel. 13, the lead for Nigel. This is going to be a pivotal swing, as now Nigel's got one pretty obvious play here. Just 44 points for Jun above the OME. What a swing in this game.
Yeah, that's really good. But look at that draw for Eric. It's actually pretty nice, and there's still some space open after Jun. That lane on the second to top row is still kind of there. But wow, there's also the lane underneath the T of out eat that is possible. Reticuli is not a word that would potentially be amazing from the RE on the board. But it's still the game for sure. There's still some way for Eric to potentially steal this one. So Jun coming down, and we'll figure all that out. What the blank is very important. We'll get the scores updated when we figure that out. But yeah, Jun coming down for sure, like you said, a slam dunk play, and we'll see how Eric responds to that. I want to play off the U and something else maybe.
Yeah, wow, this turn feels kind of awkward. And I think the proper way to analyze it would be thinking about bingoing from the RE as well as the other options available to Eric here. Does he need a bingo to win this game, Josh?
He does, I would say. Yeah, after Jun. It feels really important. But look at that draw, all consonants for Nigel Peltier. We have, I think, mostly confirmation that blank is an L. It's not really that relevant what letter the blank is at this point. It's just so hard to use. But we'll just assume that the blank is an L, and Lomenta was the play, and then Jun, the response, propelling Nigel up by over 50 points once again. And what is Eric going to do here? How is he going to untangle in this very close game? I think there are 8 tiles left in the bag. Oh, what is he doing? He's playing call. That doesn't seem like the call to me at all.
No, this just kind of feels like a game-losing play. You could get lucky and draw a bingo that starts with an E, but otherwise, that is not a strong bingo line you're making on the top of the board, and you're knocking out a strong bingo line. You're also playing some good tiles and drawing into a bag that has mostly bad tiles. I think this is the time factor on Eric. He doesn't have much. He has found a really good draw, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's very interesting. I think he was maybe trying to get that last S, so playing as many tiles as he could reasonably, within reason to get it. But yeah, I think it was really time. It was like, I have no time. I'm just going to play something that looks good. But I think you could have just played a couple of tiles there. Maybe you do want to play the C because the C is really hard to use on this board. But yeah, we'll see how Nigel responds to this with his 7 consonants. It's still a game, Matt.
Yeah, if I'm Nigel, the first thing I do is look at the unseen pool and try to identify what could hurt me the most. Is there a bingo at the top of the board that I need to be worried about? Oxidate doesn't seem to fit. So I think I'm okay on that front, but can I survive something like exit or axite if that is what Eric has drawn here? I think, Josh, I can, especially if I use pacing to my advantage with 4 tiles in the bag still. Nigel's probably looking to play off 2 tiles, score some points. FEH maybe through the E and gavel.
Yeah, maybe score something. I would actually be worried about the word exodoi, Exodoi. That might be the only thing that has a chance of of winning the game if there is no bingo available. Reoxidate, you have to be sure that that's not a word. Again, that RE in the center of the board, potentially useful. And with 4 minutes left, Nigel has a lot of work to do to try and figure out if there's any threats he needs to deal with, and he just has no no vowels to use to deal with those threats. So he's playing nigh instead, playing off 3 tiles instead of 2, leaving only 1 in the bag, which seems like a good choice to me. But I think this might be it. I don't see a way back for Eric. He's probably just going to go ahead and play Axite, make the score close, and that 1 vowel I think is going to be enough for Nigel Peltier.
Yeah, so there was one bingo at the top of the board that could have been a slam dunk game over for Eric that was exalted. But Nigel says, you know what? If you have exactly that rack, fine. And otherwise, this does pretty much everything it needs to do. With 1 in the bag, Eric can't even really make a fish to get back into this game. Feels like all she wrote in this one. Nigel bingoing on turns 1 and 2 and coming out to a round 1 win.
Yeah, so this is going to score 38, bringing Eric to 389 within 20 points of Nigel. But the last tile in the bag is an O, which is going to make it pretty much, I think, just impossible for Eric Harshbarger to go out next turn, which means Nigel's, the end game is all his. All he needs to do, score some points this turn, score some points next turn, and he'll be totally fine.
Yeah, and he's got tons of points available to him with the S on his rack. Come extended to Scum. FEHS is so much. That's it.
Yeah, it's got to be a simple play there. I guess the only thing that would be better than playing that is a play that would leave him with an outplay next turn, but it's totally fine.
Yeah, it looks like FEHS is one of 3 highest scoring or highest winning in-game sequences for Nigel. So it's unblockable. He can do something else first and hold on to it, but BLD is not going to do anything on this board.
Yeah, with 3 minutes left, you can't take any chances. What if Eric does have an outplay that I'm missing? What if he has different tiles than I've tracked? The player is definitely keeping track of the tiles that have been used. That is a very, very important strategy at the top level of Scrabble. So both players should know at this point in the end game when the bag is empty what letters are on their opponent's rack. Flesh now lined up, but HANE not a valid word. I think Nigel is going to end up probably just going with FEHS and taking the points in the end.
Yeah, he's shuffling right back on that option as you say it. And here it comes. The game-winning play from Nigel Peltier. 42 more points brings him up to 448.
And yeah, what a great game to start things off. Lots of tactics. Like you said, it looked like Nigel's going to go off to a really, really strong lead, but Eric fought back. He made some nice decisions, came back with Marines, came back with Zeta, came back with Lomenta, but it was just not quite enough. And I think the time problem, the time issue, the play of call was the only situation where Eric could have done a lot better. He's going to go ahead and play Rue and get over the 400 mark, which is definitely a nice achievement against the defending champion.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can score 400 points, you're usually gonna win. Just not enough for Eric in this one. But as you said, 2 bingos to start the game for his opponent. He stayed alive till the very end, and just a couple key things at a couple key times, this game could have still been his. But hats off to Nigel, finding the 2 bingos on the first 2 moves, and then out-eat, redry, 2 crazy uncanny blocks that worked out great for him. Then shifting to an offensive MO, playing Wingy, setting up his case S. He did a lot of really smart things in this game, showing us why he won this event last year.
Definitely. So while Nigel looks for his highest scoring play here with his 3 constants, he's already determined he doesn't have an outplay. We will tell you next round's pairings. We just had the 2025 champion. What about the 2024 champion? Mac Meller is playing against Mike Thalen, who is a very strong expert as well. And this is actually going to be a great matchup because they have never played each other, Matt.
That's crazy because they both play so much Scrabble.
So bed is the play on the bottom right, making B and da. I think that was Nigel's best. And Eric now with 1 minute and 45 seconds. If he doesn't want to go over time, he'll be able to find his potentially highest scoring spot for the eye. You just want to scan the board at this point. Just try to find the best spot. I see 5 points. Maybe there's better.
No, 5's the best it's going to be. So assuming Eric finds that as well, we're going to end up with a 52-point Nigel Peltier victory in game 1. I'm so stoked for round 2. I know Mac Meller has some fans in the chat. Mac has a YouTube channel. We'll plug that in a minute. But let's cut to overhead mic as this one is done.
Good game.
Good game.
Both of my bingos are when I drew MAN front. And this one also had air. I mean, I saw it, I'm like, I'm surprised you didn't do out.
I wrote it down because I wasn't sure about it.
Okay. But I thought maybe you wanted to kill that E spot. That was more important for out. Like,
no, I liked it, but I wasn't certain,
yeah,
so
okay.
I didn't want to do anything too weird.
Is HANE good? I can never remember.
No, but
Okay.
that's so funny because I thought
Flesh. Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, I always screw that. But
Yeah.
HA, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and no S hook on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's past it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it was closer than I thought it would be. I was trying to catch up. And
Yeah, you came back
maybe a mental would have been better, I guess. I don't know.
a couple more points.
A couple more points.
All right.
And here I kept AS for power. Maybe Power, so it doesn't have the front extension. PAWE.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Hmm.
But I don't like I like AS a lot better than OS. And I didn't first play. I don't mind that.
Well, you thought of manpower and I didn't.
Oh,
so.
okay. Yeah, I mean,
There
yeah.
you go.
I kept AS, keep the A for man. And God was so. You should just open up these two bingos on. Oh my God. But fortunately, that hurt. This is probably what hurt me the most.
Yeah.
When you had that.
Yeah.
And the X just wasn't enough at that point. And I didn't like this because of the S's, but I had to give myself. I mean,
It almost turned into something nice because this caught me with all consonants.
oh wow.
And so if I didn't draw a vowel the rest of the game, it's like
Yeah.
you'd probably have done some
Wow.
things. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking of like setups. I mean, my goal for the last few turns was to eventually drop an
Wow.
H
Yeah.
once you burned your last hook,
Yeah.
so that I could do something big.
Wow.
But then that just turned into
Yeah.
this one, which is pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was. At least I was in it. You
Yeah.
played that blank on the first. I thought, oh, here we go again. I'm like a game blank, and that came out pretty darn. I mean, that was.
Yeah, you
I had it for one turn before that, I think.
like you said, if I just get 15 somewhere with
Yeah.
a bad lead or 20 with a bad
Yeah.
lead instead of this
Instead
one,
of that, yeah, that's what.
different game.
So
You did come back.
and I mean, this was. I had the blank at this point, obviously, because I just needed bingo lanes, and
There's this one here.
yeah,
That was a sneaky little hidden tucked away there the whole game.
yeah. But it was just crazy because I was eyeing. And I got MAN, and I finally got a bingo, and I didn't quite get you. And then my second one, I got MAN, but you blocked it right away. And I was like, yeah, but yeah,
I did leave IR on purpose with this play. I don't know.
okay,
It's
yeah.
pretty
Well, I mean, I was trying to keep two of those letters in my rank.
Okay.
Either air power, man, or out power.
It's so cool how a single opening can impact the
I mean,
game.
yeah, I thought, let's play ball. Let's see. And I thought AS was one of my best lead there.
Yeah,
I don't know, because of POW, I guess. POW would have been more defensive.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that might have been better. And then even this, I kept AESS here. So you blocked this blocked Sinopius. Yeah, that was and I had nothing else. Sinopius without a P. Nothing was going to play that I saw. Maybe, I mean, evasions, anisols, none of them were fitting, and these two F's, and couldn't do anything. And I surely he won't screw his pee up.
Alrighty, yeah, I love the lengthy postmortems, Matt. But yeah, that was Eric Harshbarger, a very respectable loss of 52 points to the defending champion Nigel Peltier in round 1 of this year's Scrabble Player Championship in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And like we said, if you're just joining us, next round will be Mac Meller, the 2024 champion, YouTuber, potentially favorite to win this year. He's the top seed, facing Michael Thalen, who always puts on a show at these tournaments. He's a very exciting player to watch, and he's been playing a lot.
He's been playing a lot. He's been learning a lot as well. Michael is one of those players who annotates pretty much every game he plays at every tournament. You can find a whole treasure trove of Michael Thielen at cross-tables.com. Find a whole treasure trove of Mac Meller and his videos here on YouTube. So plenty of exposure for these two guys, and we're going to have them next for you.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention, I guess I didn't mention this, Eric, not only does he play a lot of Scrabble, he organizes a lot of tournaments, like we said, but he also has some really cool equipment. At the beginning of this round, he wanted to see if he could use his own personal rack. He likes to use his personal racks, but he won't be able to do that on stream. He has a metal board with metal tiles, which is really, really cool. He has a Lego board, I think. He's got a lot of cool equipment. But anyways, moving on from that, like we said, round 2, Mac Meller versus Mike Thielen. We'll probably just take a small break between